This is the Dallas Morning News.
Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of SportsDay Rangers. I'm John Blake.
And I'm Evan Grant.
So, Evan, you wanted more lines in the intro, so take it away, buddy.
Well, John, the Rangers ended their long West Coast road trip 4-6 along the West Coast. And then they split the first two games of the Pirate series as we record this. And this is now a 9-game homestand that they are just starting. But the big news this week, of course, is that Wyatt Langford is on the IL with a strained forearm.
And the Rangers also have some relievers on the IL, but this is really the first significant position player injury of the season. So we will see how that plays out here over the next 10 days.
Yeah, they've got three relievers who made the club out of camp on the IL, and they've got Luis Curvelo on the IL. So they've had to kind of scramble in the bullpen. And I think for the most part, they've done a good job of that. John, our guest this week is going to be former Rangers second baseman Mark McLemore, the doctor of defense.
Or defense, if you live in the East Coast.
Whatever, John. This is all part of our series to celebrate the 1996 Rangers team, the 30-year anniversary of the first Rangers team to ever play into October in the postseason. And we're looking forward to talking with Mark.
And on the archives in Arlington, we're going to go back and look at April of 1989 when the Rangers were 17-5. A lot of it due to a man named Ryan.
Ryan who?
Nolan Ryan.
Oh, Nolan Ryan. Never heard that name around here. Listen, you can reach out to all of us on X with any Rangers questions or comments. We're still awaiting that first comment. I'm at Evan _
I'll send you a comment.
There you go. You send me plenty of comments. I'm at Evan _P _Grant. He is, as always, at Ranger Blake.
Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. Here comes Jimmy Dale from Baker Brothers Plumbing, AC, and Electrical.
Thanks, Chuck. When your home pitches curveballs, Baker Brothers knocks it out of the park.
Home run, Baker Brothers. Incredible.
As the official home service partner of your Texas Rangers, we're offering $300 off a tank or tankless water heater.
Another winning call. Visit callbakernow.com or dial 214-342-1171 today.
Baker Brothers.
Great service.
So let's talk about where we are right now in the season, and it's 500, 12-12 overall, 4-4 at home, 8-8 on the road. And again, we've talked about this tough schedule.
93 since the start of last year. If you want to go that far
right.
back.
Yep, it's a lot of 500 numbers, I guess you'd call it. But we've talked about this. The schedule is tough early, but the one thing is the club is still struggling offensively here, especially at home. Although, as we talked, they've scored 9 runs in 2 games against the Pirates, which is they hadn't scored more than 3 runs in a game at home all year. So let's start with the offense and everything. And Josh Young has really picked it up. Brandon Nimmo has cooled off a little bit. Jock Peterson's getting on base a little more, but it's still a work in progress.
Well, this offense isn't going to go and really hit an extra gear until the 2 best players in the lineup, Corey Seager and Wyatt Langford, get hot. And obviously with Langford out for at least 10 days now, that's going to be a challenge. But yeah, I think there are guys who have underperformed more than Langford and Seager did, but nobody that has the ability to have as big an impact as those 2 guys do. And Corey's just off to a subpar start for him. Wyatt has been off to an uneven start. And when it looked like he was starting to maybe get back on track a little bit, he had the quadriceps injury. He comes back 4 days later, plays for a week, looks like he's getting on track again, has the forearm injury. So this is early season soft tissue type injuries have been something of a constant for Wyatt Langford in his career now. And
should that be a concern to the club? I mean, 5 times on the DL with the same basically type of injury, not catastrophic by any means, but enough to kind of derail his season at times.
Yeah, I think that there's probably going to have to. This is Wyatt's 3rd year, and I think there's going to have to be some degree of reckoning on his part about what he may or may not be doing that puts him in a position where he ends up with some soft tissue injuries. This is a large number. I'm going to have a story at some point in time here, John, in the next couple of weeks on Brandon Nimmo and all of the learning that Nimmo did during his time with the Mets. And he was really self-aware about why he was getting injured, why he wasn't on the field as much. And he made some real changes to his life and his prep. And I'm sure that that's something that the Rangers would be welcome for Brandon Nimmo to have a conversation with Wyatt about.
And what can you do? The bottom of the order obviously has been a challenge. Josh Smith is off to a pretty slow start. Ezekiel Duran has done a nice job filling in, both at second base and now extensively in left field. But again, like you say, until the guys at the top of the order started, they really do need somebody to kind of jumpstart this thing.
Sure. And listen, credit to Josh Young. He's made adjustments. He's not chasing like he once was. I think this is the best 12-game stretch we've seen of Josh Young, maybe in his career, certainly since May of 23, when he was on the way to being the all-star starting third baseman. So he's made some adjustments. The Rangers obviously need to see that long-term, but this is a really good trend for Josh. I think Josh Smith is starting to have some better at-bats, but certainly there's some pressing there, and the presence of Ezekiel Duran is going to make this interesting. But Duran right now is probably needed in left field as much as anything. You're going to have, I would assume, for the next 10 days, whenever you have platoons opportunities, you're going to have Alejandro Osuna getting some time against some right-handers. Duran will start against the lefties that are coming up, which are going to be Jeffrey Springs, Max Fried, maybe twice, and Tarek Skubal. And he'll probably get a start or two at second base along the way. But yeah, I mean, it's right now it's still trying to scramble to get everybody really moving in the same direction offensively. I think the approach largely has been good. I think the results have not been great for some guys. But look, I came away from Tuesday's series opener with Pittsburgh, impressed with the way the Rangers went about their at-bats, with the fact that they scored a run on a sac fly, that they got a guy home with a ground ball to the right side, that, they strung together some extra base hits. This team is doubling a lot more than it did in 2025, and I think that's a good sign.
Well, even in the 8th inning last night, you get the pinch hit single from McCutchen on a hustle play where he beat out an infield hit, and then Berger comes around and gets the big hit to tie the ball game. But let's talk a little bit about the defense. And they made 4 errors on Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday's game against the Pirates. Some uncharacteristic plays that we've seen over the last few years, just over bad relays, that kind of thing. Is that anything that Ranger fans should be concerned about?
Well, it's something my dogs are concerned about, John.
Right.
They're obviously very upset about this. Listen, the Rangers set up a major league record last year for fewest errors, right? And the one thing you could count on from that team in 2025 was that they were going to play solid defense. And you had Seager boot a routine ball on Tuesday. You've had some dropped pop flies. I think the error last night on Josh Young throwing home, again, where the runner is and where he's charging that ball, that's a hard decision to make. I don't know that that's a terrible error. It's costly, but I don't know that it was a terrible decision on Josh's part. If anything, maybe he needs to stop and plant, and I think he had time to maybe do that. But certainly the defense has not been as consistent as it was last year. And
we say that, and then Evan Carter makes that great catch on Ornell Cruz on Tuesday night. But again, there's been overall.
It's not been consistent, right? I mean, that was a great catch, and that was the first time Evan's gone above the wall to steal a home run, and he's played really good defense in center field. There was this question about who should play center field, Wyatt or Evan. I think a healthy Evan Carter has really answered that. I think he's a +5 in defensive runs saved, maybe second in the big leagues to Pete Crow Armstrong at this point in time in center field. He's played really well in center. I just think that, the Rangers need to tighten up the defense a little bit. And I think if there's anything that's really frustrated Skip Schumacher, it's the fact that as much as he touts run prevention, that this team hasn't done a good job of preventing runs on the defensive side.
So, pitching-wise, anything stand out to you? The starters the last week have not been able to go real deep in games. Kumar Rocker with the only quality start over the last, I think it is 6 or 7 ball games now. You'd like them to go a little deeper.
Yeah, you would. I also think, you've got 2 starters age 35 or older who have long histories of injuries. I think the Rangers are, for lack of a better term, going to be very cautious early on with them. And I think that's why Jacob deGrom had sniffles and a little bit of a cold on Friday night. That's why he didn't go as deep as he might have been able to go. I do think, you would like to see these guys be able to start going deeper into games. We're at 25 games in right now. I would expect that the Rangers will start to push these starters a little bit more. And they need to, quite frankly, because you can't keep asking the bullpen, especially a bullpen that's scrambling as much as it is, to pitch 3 or 4 innings every night.
And you've got Tyler Alexander that pitched 2 shutout innings on Wednesday night, has shown he's been able to give you a little bit of length. But, again, you're right. And again, you're still kind of mixing and matching there at the end of the ball game.
Yeah, and, 9th inning on Wednesday, Cole Winn doesn't get the job done, but you can't go to Jacob Latz every night. Gavin Collier had already pitched. There's only so much the Rangers can do, and that is part of the learning process for Skip Schumacher with this group of guys. It's one thing if you have guys with long track records in a certain role, and you can say, okay, I know what I can do here. But right now, you're kind of on some uneasy footing on how you manage these guys, especially early on, because the other part of that, John, is you've also got to be protective of the relievers early on, because you're going to need them all year.
Right. Have you ever seen a ball like Ornell Cruz hit last night in the 9th inning, hit the top of the foul pole? Certainly I don't think it's happened in this ballpark.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
that was crazy. And those foul poles here are, I think, 93 feet high, and they're not, there are a lot of foul poles that are taller in baseball. There are ones that are shorter, but it was crazy.
Yeah, to actually hit the very top of the foul pole and take the kind of bounce that it did was ridiculous. But listen, the home run that Carter took away, he hit 111 miles per hour. And it left the bat at a 34-degree launch angle. And like Carter said, you put those metrics together, you're looking at the second deck. So the fact that he hit that ball that hard and that high, no, it doesn't surprise me. And again, it just goes back to how fortunate the Rangers got with Carter making that catch, and that the ball, kind of went to the place in Globe Life Field where balls go to die.
And how crazy is it at this point that the National League Central has all 5 teams? I mean, Milwaukee, the defending champion, is in last place right now, but it's crazy. I mean, and again, it's early on, like we've said, but teams like the Pirates, they're no pushovers anymore.
No, and the Pirates have really good young pitching, and as we see with guys like Cruz and the shortstop Connor Griffin, who's certainly very young, they've got a good young talented team. You look at what Cincinnati is doing right now with Tito Francona, and the fact that they came in here and swept the Rangers. Maybe that's not quite as big of a surprise or a shock as it seemed like at the time. The National League Central is is for a change. It appears like it's a force to be reckoned with. We'll see if that continues all year.
And the Rangers will go next 4 series here against the American League. They've got 6 against the Yankees. First place A's at this, as we record, come in over the weekend, and then a weekend series in Detroit. So it doesn't get any easier here on the schedule. But let's go back to 1996, and our guest this week, as Evan mentioned, is Mark McLemore, whose nickname was the Doctor of Defense, coined by the late Mark Holtz, but a real guy who brought that team together, had a lot to do with the culture in the clubhouse, as well as playing great for that club. And we'll talk to Mac next. So we're happy to have on this week's episode of Sports Day Rangers, as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Rangers' first postseason team in 1996. A big part of that team, Mark McLemore, 19 years as a big leaguer, from 1986 to 2004, played till he was 39, has the distinction, Evan, of being the first player to play for all 4 AL West teams, and they also played for the Astros, so actually he got all 5. But the Rangers played 5 years in Texas, second base, leadoff hitter, got on base with the Rangers, 83 steals, 358 walks in those 5 years, at a .268 average, more importantly, a .363 on-base percentage. So, Mac, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, great to be here. This is it's going to be fun talking about those times, those days, trying to go back that far in time. Hopefully this will all work.
So I just want to get back to a little bit before the 96 season, then we can get into it. So you signed with the Rangers during the strike in 1994, and a lot of guys waited till after the strike when we signed Bob Tewksbury, Mickey Tettleton, Jeff Russell, among others. What was your motivation to sign with Texas at that point?
Well, I knew at some point we were going to go back to play. And Texas was somewhere that I wanted to be. My agent at the time was Tony Attanasio. So he gave me the whole rundown, and obviously, playing for other teams, I'd been coming here for years, but coming in, or, going to a city and playing in a city is different than actually being there and playing for that team and living in that city. So, Tony gave me the rundown and everything. So I was like, hey, number 1, Johnny Oates. Number 2, Doug Melvin. I, obviously had some time with them in Baltimore the previous year. So knowing those guys and knowing that baseball was going to come back at some point, didn't know when, and then wanting to be, here, it was really a no-brainer for me.
And the relationship with Johnny Oates was what had a lot to do with it, right? You'd played with him under him for 3 years in Baltimore. Played a lot of outfield during that time, but that certainly was a major factor.
No question about it. If it hadn't been Johnny calling, I might have ended up somewhere else. I probably would have ended up somewhere else. I know I would have ended up somewhere else if it wasn't Johnny calling. I'll just say that. And so that just played, it really played a major hand. I mean, I believe I was the first person he called. At least that's what he told me. And I believe him. So I went with that, knowing the kind of man that he was, the character that he had, knowing how, what kind of family man he was. I had no reason to not believe him with anything. So, and it was also an opportunity for me to get back to playing second base, which at the time is what I really wanted to do.
Mac, what did Johnny mean to you? I mean, it's been so long now. It's been 25 years since Johnny Oates was in the Rangers dugout. There's a whole generation of fans that didn't grow up with him or knowing that. And he brought a special level of authenticity and a belief in the players in the clubhouse. And I'd love to hear you articulate what it was that he meant to you in that role.
For me, and this goes throughout my career, actually my life period, credibility. If he said something, I believed it. That was it. Just his character. That's who Johnny was. Yes, great baseball man, a great manager, but a great person more than anything else. And for me, that meant a lot. That said everything that I needed to know. I remember getting to Baltimore and, what he told me with our first conversation about me, arriving in Baltimore. I know what you can do, but you've got to show me what you can do. And, we got a special situation here, and you know what that means. Now you need to go show me what you can do, and this is what will happen. And so I did my part, and he absolutely held up his part.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that 95 season leading into 96. The Rangers were very dysfunctional in 94. We had the pieces, but when you came in 95 and we started to sign guys like Mickey Tettleton, Rusty, we had Juan, pitching, getting Kenny Hill for the 96 season was huge. But in 95, did you kind of see this as kind of coming together and that this team could be really good?
Knew we could do some damage. There's no question about it. Offensively, defensively, and obviously most of the time, even, to this day, the biggest question is usually pitching. And so that was a question, then as well. How's the pitching going to be? How are the pitchers going to hold up in the heat? That's always the question, or used to be the question here in Texas about, are the pitchers going to be able to make it through a Texas summer? So yes, I knew we had the pieces, but it's all about putting it together. I mean, I'd seen teams before in the past that had all the pieces. They had the offense, they had the defense, they had pitching, but weren't able to put it together, meaning they didn't know how to win together as a unit. So I saw the pieces that we had, and I figured, yeah, we have an opportunity to do it, and that's really all that you can look for or ask for. It doesn't matter, what's on paper. You've got to go out there and play. So you can't just say, hey, this team, we've got this, we've got that, we're going to go out there and win. There are a lot of things that have to go right for you. So yes, I felt we had the pieces, but did I know we were going to be able to do the things that we ended up doing? Not in 95 or 96. After 96, I started feeling like, yeah, we could really, really, go deep in the postseason and win a World Series.
But Mac, I think one thing that in John's very lovely introduction, one thing he didn't mention, obviously, is the impact you had on the clubhouse. And certainly he mentioned that there was some dysfunctionality in 94. And really there had been all throughout the Rangers history. And listen, 95 with the late start and everything, it was hard for a team to really come together. But Johnny trusted you in that clubhouse, probably more than any other player. And how did that come about, and how did you kind of take that? Because I don't know that you had ever envisioned yourself as a clubhouse leader prior to that, and how did it kind of happen?
It's interesting, and I think you know the story, but I didn't know right away either. Obviously, I'd spent time with Johnny, 3 years in Baltimore, so got to know him as a person, as a manager, and he got to know me as a player. And I believe he saw something in me that I hadn't really recognized yet. And so me thinking every year going into it, hey, I'm going to be a leader of this team. Thought never crossed my mind. I'm going to go out here and do my job. Hopefully we can all gel and win a World Series. That was the extent of my thought. But there was a play that happened. I can't remember who we were playing, but Benji Gill was the shortstop, and I was playing second. Typically, the shortstop is the one who calls coverage on a steal. Well, with me, I'm the one who called coverage on steals because Benji, I believe it was his rookie year or maybe his second year. I called coverage. I called for Benji to cover the bag on the steal. He didn't. Punched through the ball into center field. Ended up being an error. And Johnny was livid. And I knew he was livid. I could see it from the field. And I'm just thinking, oh, man, he's just going to wear Benji out when we get in here. Benji got to the dugout before me. That might have been on purpose. Just wanted to make sure that he was going to get Benji and not me. But he didn't say a word to Benji. He kind of went off on me and lit into me. And I was instantly upset. So I'm like, listen, I had him, he was covering. That's the play. We have that written down. We have it in our books. This is what was supposed to happen. He didn't cover. And so I was hot. I didn't speak to Johnny for a week, an entire week. And he finally got fed up. And I'm walking by his office one day, and he comes out of the club, out of his office, and he jumps on my back. So for me, number one, this is not a smart move for Johnny to do. And I think people are probably thinking, well, yeah, I was probably upset. No, most people don't know that Johnny had a bad back. I did know that. So for him to jump on my back, and I'm actually carrying him, piggyback, that was my first thought. Why is he doing this with his back? He knows he can throw his back out anyway, and at any time. And so for me, I'm like, okay, what's going on? And all he said to me was, as he jumped off of my back, "It's your time." And I'm on my way to the train when I just stopped in my tracks, and I'm like, oh my God. I knew exactly what that meant. Johnny brought me there to be a leader, not the leader, but to help lead this team, to be a leader on that team. And then when he said that to me, I knew exactly what he meant. And that changed my whole thought process and how I approach things throughout the rest of my career, honestly. I can laugh about it now, but at the time I wasn't too thrilled him jumping down my neck about Benji. But for me, that I was supposed to make sure that Benji knew he was covering the bag. How do I do that? I give him the sign, he acknowledges it, but he didn't do it. So it should have been me getting into Benji's collar instead of Johnny having to get to me. So from that point on, never happened again.
But so then he gave you kind of the keys to the clubhouse. And look, that 96 team, even though I wasn't here, the stories are long. Will played a role, Mickey played a role, you played a role. I think Dave Valley played a significant role, and it was a great combination of guys all kind of coming together. But when he gave you to the kind of the keys to the clubhouse, how did you approach that job?
Number one, I took it seriously. This is what I didn't know. It was something that I didn't know that I really wanted. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to help a team other than just with my physical performance on the field, the mental part of the game, the things off the field that were going on. I wanted to be a part of all of that, helping get this ship going in the right direction. And I said earlier that, I knew he brought me here to be a leader, not the leader. I think he and Doug did a tremendous job, and the ownership group did a tremendous job bringing in the right guys to help lead. Like you mentioned, Mickey Tettleton, Will Clark. We had everybody that we needed, and everybody that was here, especially the middle veterans or veteran players at the time, knew what their job was. They knew how to be ready at game time, 7:05. They knew what they needed to do in order to get ready to play that game. If it meant, hey, I need to stay out of the heat today, I'm getting a little tired, it's July, August or whatever, I need to save a little bit, not take batting practice, but at 7:05, I'm in that lineup and I'm going to give it my all, and then we'll go back to get to the next day and go from there. So it was a great feeling for me, a huge responsibility that I just absolutely loved and cherished it. And I told Johnny, on many occasions, thank you for that. Except for me, in my mind, it changed my career.
The one thing about that team, too, Mac, both offensively and the starting pitching, the lineup played every day. Johnny didn't, people don't remember Kurt Stillwell and Rene Gonzalez were even on that team. And going into the season, the lineup was pretty set except at one position. That was shortstop, where you mentioned Benji got hurt his back, ironically enough, and Kevin Elster steps in and is probably has one of the years that is most unprecedented or surprising in Rangers history. So how did he fit in, with you and he playing the second base shortstop combination, what he meant to that club?
He meant everything to that club. Obviously, we know what in baseball what the strong points are: shortstop, second base, center field, catcher, up the middle, and obviously who's on that mound, starting a game and ending that game. So being strong up the middle is what you have to be in order to win a championship. So bringing in Suge, as I like to call him, Kevin, I knew of him, and obviously we hadn't started playing. We hadn't started playing with interleague yet, so I had never played against him. I knew of him, knew what he could do, but you don't really get to know a guy until you play with them every single day. So knowing his, what he could do on the baseball field, I was like, okay, let's see what this guy's got. So first day of spring training, we're taking ground balls. We want to try to get that chemistry, working. And he said, "Where do you want it?" The only other second or shortstop that ever asked me that was Cal Ripken. "Where do you want the ball on a double play?" And I was like, "Right here." And so we go to work, and he's doing this thing. He comes up to the ground ball hits his glove. At least I thought it hit his glove. It was supposed to hit his glove. And the next thing I know, it was in my glove. And I was like, okay, that looked a little weird. Next one, boom, same thing, same spot, right where I wanted it. We did that about 4 or 5 times. And I was like, "Man, what are you doing?" And he looked at me like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" I said, "How did you do that?" He had a way of getting the ball in and out of his glove. And it was a half a motion. It was it would just come. And so I got the ball instantly, which every second baseman back then loved, because that meant I had more time to turn the double play and clear myself and not get taken out by the runner. And I just started laughing every time we were taking ground balls. We're turning double plays and he's doing it. I'm having a hard time completing the double plays because he's right perfect every time. This isn't just, the ball's hit up the middle and he's coming toward second base. I'm talking about he's going 4 or 5 steps to the right, goes down and gets it and throws it right there from that release and hit me every single time in the same spot, which is where I told him I wanted the ball. And it was incredible. And we all know how great Cal Ripken is. Love playing with Cal. I learned an awful lot with my 3 years in Baltimore with Cal Ripken. But Kevin Elster was a different animal when it comes to turning that double play and getting the ball to me exactly where I wanted it every single time.
And Evan, one thing that 96 team, I think it's underrated. That team led the league in fielding percentage, set a club record for errors, and that's one thing you don't remember as much about that 96 group because of the offense and everything else.
Yeah, I think the offense overshadowed everything else because we had a great offense, and it should have overshadowed everything else with those guys driving me in and wearing my legs out, which I loved every minute of running in this heat. Juan, Pudge, just Will Clark getting the job done. Dean Palmer, Mickey. It was just. It was a great time for me. It really was. I think that's when I really started coming into my own, even though I guess I got here maybe 9 or 10 years into my career. It was a really, really great time for me. And man, Kevin Elster was a big part of that. And obviously a lot of people for me to thank that had a lot to do with it.
So Mac, did you understand at that point in your career? I mean, you had played almost 10 years at that point. But did you get how much chemistry meant to a team at that stage? And I'm asking this because I'm curious if how much you got from that about what chemistry actually does mean to optimizing a team's performance.
I knew what it meant. I did know what chemistry meant. It didn't mean you were going to win. That's the thing everybody, kind of misconstrues. They get to thinking, okay, well, hey, they've got chemistry. They're going to win. No, it doesn't mean you're going to win. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of things that have to go right in a baseball season in order for you to win a championship. Chemistry, I think for me, in my opinion, it's one of those things that needs to go right. Do you have to have chemistry to win? No, you don't. I've seen teams with no chemistry whatsoever, physically fighting before a game, and they win the World Series. And not just one, but a couple. So for me, chemistry is a huge part. I would rather have chemistry than not. Now, is that the first thing I go out there and look for? No, because you can't say, hey, this guy's a chemistry guy, that guy's a chemistry guy. You can't put a team together that's just full of chemists. Then you just have, a chemistry class. That's not what this is about. It's about winning baseball championships. So you've got to have talent, no question about it. But you want to have all those things, in my opinion, you want to have those things lined up. Chemistry, talent, hunger, passion, knowledge of the game. You want to have those, and for me, those are some of the winning ingredients that we had. We just didn't get it done. That's the thing for me. We had a good enough team, or good enough teams multiple times to get it done. We just couldn't get it done.
Let me ask you, this is the last one for me, Evan. So the Rangers have a 9-game lead in September. As you know, we go to Anaheim, and I was thinking about this the other day when Garrett Anderson passed and had that game-winning hit on Friday night. Which got the Rangers lead down to 1 game, and then John Burkett, Ken Hill come back, pitch those really strong games on Saturday and Sunday at Anaheim. But as the PR guy, having been here a long time and knowing how Ranger teams had faded in the past, and I remember the clubhouse was not as that rattled. I mean, you guys were down,
No.
but you didn't have that weight of 30-plus years on your backs. You guys knew you could do it, right? So what was the feeling at that point?
Well, the feeling is exactly what you just said. We knew we could do it. We had a team meeting earlier. I think it was sometime after the All-Star break, and I think Will Clark called it. And one of the things he said was this: "Hey, listen, it doesn't matter what happened all those years. None of us were here. So the history of the team in that respect means nothing."
I was there, but that's
There you go. Other than you, that didn't have any bearing on what we went out there and did every single day from that point on. And I think a lot of guys needed to hear that. And obviously two of those guys stepped up and did what we needed done at the perfect time. Ken Hill and John Burkett, they went out and got the call, got it done. And those were it was just really exciting to live through that, not really knowing exactly what the end result was going to be. It was still an exciting time, and I think that's probably what makes it so exciting. You don't know what's gonna happen. You feel that you're gonna win. You've got all the horses you need to get the job done, but are you gonna get it done? And fortunately, we did.
And listen, you won the first game of the '96 playoffs, and obviously the Yankees began a dynasty after that. When I got here in '97 and just watching the first year play out and then into the '98 playoffs, I always got the feeling that the Yankees had gotten into this team's head somewhat. Had they? Or were they just that impenetrable as a team?
I will say this: 2 things can be true at the same time. They were that good. Obviously, they've got some Hall of Famers from that era that obviously ended up in the Hall of Fame, and they got there for a reason. But I think there were some guys at the Yankees allure, that whole Yankee machine and mystique. It got into some of our players' heads, unfortunately, and it cost us some performances. They didn't perform to the level that they normally do throughout the course of the season, because if I remember correctly, I think we won the season series against them probably every one of those years. So we felt good about how we played them well throughout the course of the season. We've got a really good chance. It doesn't matter who we've got. We can get them. But they just found a way somehow to turn it up another notch and take care of us. So yeah, it's still a little tender. Although, the guys have, since then changed that a few years back. They took a lot of the sting away. I won't say a lot of the sting away for sure.
Listen, this has been great to have you here to talk about this stuff in '96. We're overshadowing so much stuff because of your role in Seattle in 2001, and another great chemistry team that I don't think people thought would set a major league record for wins. But you've always been a great presence around the ballpark, whether you were with the club or not. There was a story I remember after the Hall of Fame game in '99, where, some stuff had happened with Juan and some pants, and there had been some difficult moments. And, you took accountability and you were the guy to go to on that stuff. You were the guy who was not afraid to speak up. And so I always appreciated your candor on that stuff. And I appreciated the way you played the game. And I appreciate still being able to talk to you about the fundamentals in baseball, because you've got that Oriole way in you. You were a Ranger for a long time, but you've got that Oriole way in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Oriole way goes back, Evan. It's part of the fabric there, obviously, and we're looking forward to celebrating this team. This was personally, I think '96 was one of the best teams I've ever been around to work with. I mean, and there were some interesting personalities, Juan and Will at times, and guys like that. But Roger Pavlik. But, but it was a great team. We do appreciate your time today, and look forward to seeing you during the season and as we celebrate this group going forward. So thanks, Matt.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm looking forward to it as well. I appreciate you guys. We've known each other an awfully long time, and I just wanted to say I appreciate y'all's friendship. It means a lot to me, because I think John, we got a chance to talk about a month or two ago about it. I mean, our runways are getting shorter. They're not getting longer. So I think, being able to spend time with people that mean something to you, family, close friends, I think that means a lot.
Mark McLemore was great, and like Evan pointed out, the chemistry that he helped bring to that team in '96 was amazing. And one thing we neglected to say, and he had 472 that year in June, Evan, which is still the highest batting average ever for a Ranger in 1 month, which, I mean, you could win probably a lot of money on a trivia question if you ask that question, who has the highest average for a Ranger in a month. But he was a big part of that team. So, the archives in Arlington for this week, we're going to talk about another record-setting month for the Rangers, and that was April 1989. And this was before Evan's time on the beat. I don't know, what were you doing in 1989, Evan?
1989, I was covering Louisiana Tech, Northwestern State in Louisiana, the Shreveport Captains, who were at that point in time the AA franchise of the San Francisco Giants, and occasionally got over to cover a Cowboy game for the Shreveport Times. But that's what I was doing.
You never came over to cover a Rangers game, because if you had in April of 1989, you would have experienced something that us who had worked for the franchise for years never experienced. And, of course, we had signed Nolan Ryan the previous winter, and we don't need to, but just what he brought right away to the ball club. The Rangers that year in April finished 17-5. It's the second best record ever by winning percentage in a single month, still is. It was topped only in June of 2010. That club went 21-6, which was amazing, and really put that season, that division title away. But Nolan made 5 starts in his first month with the Rangers. 3-1, 2.06 ERA, had 49 strikeouts in 35 innings. Three of those starts are what kind of electrified his legendary time in Texas. After getting a no decision in the first start, we went to Milwaukee on April 12th. 8 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 15 strikeouts. Took a no-hitter into the 7th before Terry Francona, believe it or not, got the only hit that day for the Brewers. We won the game 8-1. Craig McMurtry came in and pitched the 9th. And then after he lost to the Brewers at home in his next start on April 17th, he put together 2 of the more memorable starts I think a Ranger pitcher ever has. The April 23rd game in Toronto, the Rangers were having a great month, and we were a Sports Illustrated. Again, I love to bring up sports because at the time, as a PR guy, to get Sports Illustrated to do a story on you was huge, especially the Rangers. And they were working on a story on the club, and the cover was just, well, you guys might have a shot at the cover, but it kind of depends on what else happens, yada, yada. So Nolan goes out on a Sunday afternoon in Toronto, This would have been at the Sky Dome. 9 innings. He took a no-hitter into the 9th. 8 1/3 no-hit innings before Nelson Liriano triples. We win the game 4-1. It's a complete game. 12 strikeouts for Nolan, and we end up on the cover of Sports Illustrated. No, I should say Nolan ends up on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And then we close the month, again, a game that a lot of Ranger fans will remember at home on April 30th against the Red Sox. Nolan Ryan versus Roger Clemens. Again, a Sunday afternoon. Nolan gives up a run in the first inning without a hit. It's a walk, hit by pitch, wild pitch. And the Red Sox lead 1-0 going to the bottom of the 8th inning when Rafael Palmeiro hits a 2-run homer off Roger Clemens. We win the game 2-1. Nolan, Jeff Russell comes in, bang, 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 three out save in the 9th. And Nolan struck out his last batter. He struck out Jim Rice on 3 pitches. And Rangers finished 17-5 in the month, but the legend of Nolan Ryan had started. So what do you remember being in Shreveport about the Rangers at that point? Because the Rangers obviously were not big news prior to that. Did that make any dent?
No, it made no dent. I at some point in time, I wrote a column on the Rangers from Shreveport, and I had tried to talk to Tom Grieve about something. I've shared this story with Tom, and I was 24 and asking snot-nosed questions, and at some point in time, he said, "What, are you writing a book on this?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Good, we'll leave this chapter out." What I do remember from what you just talked about are 2 things. Number one, that my dad once sold a furniture set to Craig McMurtry when he was a Brave, which was a very big deal, at the Riches Warehouse. Secondly,
nice guy, very nice guy.
Very nice
man.
man,
Pride
Craig
of Temple,
McMurtry.
Texas. So
very nice man. The second thing that I remember is not so much about that specific season, but, John, I was watching my Instagram feed the other day, which is where everybody gets their news now. And as you may know, I am a fan of the late singer Jimmy Buffett, who was a great spiritual guide for me. And a video popped up of some celebrities reading or singing the lyrics to Cheeseburger in Paradise. Ed Bradley, Goldie Hawn, forget some of the others. And there was Nolan Ryan in the outfield at Arlington Stadium saying, "I like mine with lettuce and tomato, Heinz 57, and French fried potatoes." He kind of stumbled, but I'm wondering, do you remember, did they have to reach out to you?
I don't remember that. And I remember most things about Nolan, but they must have had to go through us, I would assume. I wonder if Nolan got paid for that or anything.
I have no idea. I do know that Nolan told me he did once go to a Jimmy concert, and he walked in to listen to him sing. He said, "I walked in and the smell of weed was so bad, I had to walk right back out." But he did know the lyrics, or at least he had been prompted on the lyrics to give this little thing. And
that's amazing, because I remember when Jerry Jeff Walker did his song on Nolan Ryan. That was, I think, 90 at that point, when the legend was really percolating at its high.
Well, maybe it was after 1990, because Jerry, Jeff, and Buffett were very good friends.
Maybe that's where it came from.
They had driven down to Key West together in the early 70s. But another chapter in Rangers history that I was not here for. I was still too entrenched in following my beloved Atlanta Braves at that point in time, and keeping up with the prospects at the AA level with the Giants.
Well, it's just I tend to go back to these stories, and 96, 89. These are the seasons that, in the early days, before it exploded in 2010, 2011, and then obviously 23. But these are the guys you just remember, these guys, and you've been around teams like that too. You just remember the guys, and these groups of players were, a different era, but it was a lot of fun. And that was kind of the thing that propelled Nolan in Ranger history. and it took off for 5 years, and it never stopped.
Well, it was one thing after another in '89, right? It was
Right, yeah.
It was the start. It was the 5,000 strikeout.
Yeah, it just and we had a good team. I mean, we stayed in the race for a while, but again, it's like Rangers history. I mean, we were running into the Oakland A's every year. The '89 A's with the earthquake, but that was the year they won their only World Series in that era.
Right, and they went to 4 straight World Series, right? They went to '88, they went to '89,
88, 89, 90.
Yeah, three straight. Yeah.
But anyway, so thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Day Rangers. The Rangers in the middle of a long homestand here, Evan, and hopefully they can play as well. They can keep playing well at home here and during a very tough stretch of the season.
Yeah, it's nice for them to finally be at home after playing 16 of the first 22 on the road, and maybe they will start to get some feeling for a real strong home field advantage as the season progresses. But as always, you know where you guys can find us. John is on the X at Ranger Blake. I am on the X at Evan_P_Grant. On Instagram at the same handle, and on Blue Sky at just Evan P. Grant with no underscores. So you can find me anywhere.
And on YouTube, too, once a week.
Yes, because I'll be doing a YouTube stream probably as we speak.
Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll talk to you all next week.